Good morning, everybody on Facebook and here at CTK Live in Wilmington, Ohio. If you'll please stand, let's start with singing Above All. Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things, above all wisdom and all the ways of man, you were here before the world began. Crucified, laid behind the stone, you lived to die, rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall and thought of me above all. Above all kingdoms, above all thrones, above all wonders the world has ever known, above all wealth and treasures of the earth, there's no mate to measure what you're worth. Crucified, laid behind the stone, you lived to die, rejected and alone, like the rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall and thought of me above all. Thank you. Everybody have a seat. And we're going to be introducing Jody Gundler, who's our guest speaker today, all the way from Blanchester, Ohio.
Good morning, CTK. I was just talking to a couple of you before, and I had a new idea about CTK. Is since you guys are independent now, right? Good. So you could do like Ohio State and kind of do something bold, like the Ohio State University. You could be the CTK. So from now on, I'll refer to you guys as the CTK. And Pastor Paul will love that. Also, he'll love this.
Yes, he will.
Because
Yes. Should have worn the same.
Yeah!
because I thought the other thing you might need to this morning is a jersey of a team that is in the playoffs. And I was going to say something about this being the third time I've spoke to you guys, but this might be the last time I spoke to you guys. So,
You have to try harder than that.
So what I want to talk to you guys today about is I want to tell you a little bit of my story of the last couple of years, what's gone on with me and where I've seen God. We have a home church, Pastor Mike. We do a thing instead of we don't have singing like you guys lovely singing. So in to do something different, Pastor Mike and I think he's spoken here before a couple times, maybe not 3, but
Good counting.
but he we do a worship where we say where we saw God this week. And I think it's been really good for me because it reminds me every week that God is here in my life and he's here in other people's lives, and we get to hear about where he showed up. And nowadays, right now, 2020, 2022, 21, all this, we need to be reminded of that because there's a lot of people I hear, they're like, where is God with the pandemic? Where's God with all the war? Where's God with everything that's going on, all the hate in this world? But one thing I just want to remind everybody is, we asked, where is God? Why is God not stopping this? But it was modeled for us a long time ago. There was this man who was without sin. He was tortured and killed on a cross. He even cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? And God, where was God? Well, God knew the plan. The only thing about the difference between us and Jesus is Jesus knew the plan too. He cried out through his human self, I think, with the pain that he was going through. But he knew what the plan was. And thank goodness he knew the plan, and God didn't intervene, because if he did intervene, then we wouldn't have our sins forgiven, and we wouldn't have that pathway to heaven. So just remember that when I go through this story, is that it's already been modeled for us before with the crucifixion, that sometimes God doesn't intervene because there's a plan that we don't know about. And unlike Jesus, we have to have faith that there is a reason why he's not intervening in that. So let's go back to 2019. So in 2019, our kids, the last kid graduated from high school, and we had one in college and one that moved to New York City. And so Chris and I were like, we're done. We're going to go and sell the house, downsize, and, live our life and stuff. So long story short, in 2019, after 2 realtors, 6 open houses, a whole year, no showings, no people showing up at open house, we were like, okay, what is going on? We got to the end of the last realtor, and we're like, why can't we sell this house? And then we thought God came through, because a young couple showed up on a Friday, and they wanted to see the house. First person in the whole year. We're almost done with this last realtor. And they showed up, and we're like, great. They come back the next day on Saturday, and they bring their parents, because we have a downstairs and like a mother-in-law suite type thing. So we're like, sweet, this is perfect for them. And then on Tuesday, Governor DeWine shuts down Ohio. And we're like, we never hear from him again. We take the house off the market. But that was where we thought God wasn't. He really was, because we didn't know that the virus was going to hit like that. We didn't know the shutdown was going to happen. Our oldest daughter, Abby, came back from New York because it was crazy there. The 2 in college, they went remote, so they're back. My mom's there. So we have 3 kids, a mom, 2 of us, 3 dogs, and thank God we weren't in an apartment when that happened. So even though we thought God wasn't there, he really was there. So then we went through the pandemic, the first part of the pandemic. We decided, well, we're going to sell our house again. We got a new realtor, which you guys probably know, Dan Young. He was,
Just a little
sorry.
bit. We only know him a little bit.
So he came in, and we said, we're gonna sell the house now, where everything's calming down there. The kids are back in school and all that. My mom had moved into a retirement home, so she was gone too. So we went and we said, okay, we're gonna sell. So we listed with him. The very next day after we listed, we got the 12 inches of snow. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. 12 inches of snow. But God was faithful. He brought 4 people that week. The first week we hadn't done it in a year. There's one couple, 4 people in the 1 week, and he provided for us. And the first people that did the first showing, they actually made a bid on the day that the 3rd people were seeing it. So the income says that we got an offer, and then he said the 3rd people were going to make an offer too. So that night I was praying about it, and I just got I just felt the words, God talking to me and saying, just take the first offer. Don't wait. Just take the first offer. So I was like, okay. And I talked to Chris, and she's like, that's fine. We haven't seen anything in a year and a little over a year and a half. So we're just gonna take it. So we accepted that first offer without even waiting for the second offer to come in, which Dan didn't like too much because he's like the bidding wars, and I was like, no, we're done. So we did that. We sold the house. We had 6 weeks to move out. So we start moving out. We don't know what we're going to do as far as an apartment because we looked around, there's no apartments. So I have a dental office, and in the basement of the dental office, just unfinished rooms and stuff. So we started remodeling the dental office for our apartment. So we got that going. And then we're like, we had a pharmacy building, and we're like, oh, Dan sold that. Maybe he could sell the pharmacy building, because the same time in 19, we tried to sell the pharmacy building and got 0 looks and 0 interest. And that was just totally dead. So we put it up there. We're starting to move, starting to remodel and stuff. Put it up there, and lo and behold, Dan sells that. He gets an offer. It's a lot less than what we wanted, but I mean, it's in the ballpark. But again, I prayed about it, and God said, take it. And he said, just take that offer. And I was like, okay. And I talked to Chris and said, okay, we'll just take the offer. So now at this point, I think I'm dying, because I feel like God is cleaning everything up for Chris. And I was like, I didn't tell anybody. I told one person. I can't remember who I told, but I think it was our pastor, Spencer. I said, you know what? I think I might be dying, and I just don't know it yet, because like God's saying, just get rid of it. Just get rid of that, and then get this all fixed up, and get everything moved in there. And so we get everything moved in, sell the pharmacy, and I mean, God's working way out here too in my life, in our lives, Chris's and mine, because what we didn't know at the time is that the pharmacy, we were selling it to a pharmacist, and he wanted to open a pharmacy, and Chris was working at Kroger's, which she was really struggling, mentally, emotionally, because they were overworked and underpaid and just feeling the brunt of the whole pandemic and everything. So out here, he was working in Chris's mental health, and he was bringing a pharmacy here that eventually now she is running that pharmacy for the pharmacist that bought it. But so we got house sold. Chris is moving into a better job. I'm one of the few dentists in Ohio working from home. My staff thinks it's so funny. They're like, how's your commute today? Walk up the stairs, and I said, well, the hallway's getting kind of cold. I might need a jacket next time. But we were listening to God, and I felt like he was coming through. But I also felt like I'm dying. So we get moved in. I'd sit on the couch. I'm still working, but I'm sitting on the couch every day after work, and I just like not getting up. I'm just tired. But I was like, I just moved for 6 weeks and had some teenage boys help me, but I was going up and down stairs and doing all that stuff. And after a couple weeks, I'm like, this is just not me. I have pretty good energy. So I went to my family physician, and she was like, well, let's run some blood tests and stuff. So she ran blood tests, and she came back and she found this blood disorder, which I had before, and it's associated with one of my medicines that I'm on. So I wasn't really worried about it. And she was like, not convinced. She was not convinced that was making me that tired. And which doesn't seem unusual for physicians in the past, but nowadays it seems like they catch something that might be it, and they're like, that's it, let's treat that and go on. She did not. She was like, no, I think we need to look deeper. And so she started having me do a cardiac workup. And through the cardiac workup, they found I had blockages. So I had 100, 95, and 85% blockages. And So that led to an angiogram, which Chris, they put it on your phone, and they're like, okay, when he goes in, it'll say he's going into surgery, and when he comes out, it'll say he's coming out. And Chris is like, ding, he's going in, and then literally 17 minutes later, it's like, ding, he's out. And she's like, oh, that's not good. Because they said, nope, we can't do it. We can't do stents. We got to do an open heart, just the Superman, like Joe Burrow. So then, the whole time, it was weird. The whole time, I was never worried. And I had this happen probably 12 years ago, where I just accepted that Jesus has defeated death and that I'm not worried about death. And I was not that. I was the kid that woke up in the middle of the night, my heart pounding, thinking, I'm not going to be on this earth one day. And just could not go to sleep the rest of the night and just worried about death all the time. And about 12 years ago, I don't even know what happened with it, because I'd come back to Christ and I felt pretty good about my situation with Christ, but just that he just took that away from me one day. And it was on a plane. We were flying, and we were in a thunderstorm, and it was one of those little planes. There was only 2 seats on this side, 1 seat on this side, and it was just lightning's crashing down. And I mean, I'm looking out the window, and it's like we're going down, and the plane kept dropping and climbing, and then dropping and climbing, and people were freaking out. And I prayed about it, and I just felt like God say, not now. It's not now. Don't worry. It's not now. And so then I just totally got calm. But then I just hurt for everybody else, because they were all, people were screaming on the plane. And I just felt so bad for them. And I'm like, man, I wish they could get here, because then that wouldn't matter. So fast forward 12 years, I'm sitting there with open heart surgery coming at me and didn't have a problem. I'm like, I felt bad because family were worried and stuff, but I'm like, I'm good either way. I win either way. If I go to heaven, I win. If I come back to family and friends, I win. So to me, my blood pressure didn't go up at all during the whole thing, except for one time. So after I'm in surgery, 7:30 in the morning, I get out of surgery. I'm doing really good. I wake up awake right away, and which they said I'd be groggy for a better part of a day or day and a half. I wake up right away. I got this balloon thing in me to kind of keep my chest up, because my heart's not functioning like they want. So I have to lay flat. Like I was laying flat, staring at the ceiling from when I got out. So probably around noon or 1, I woke up, to actually 6 o'clock the next day, because I had to lay flat. Then once they took the balloon out, I had to lay flat for 6 more hours. So there was pain involved, and there was the room was really hot, and the fact that I could not move and just staring at a ceiling for that long was just driving me nuts. And I actually verbally called out to Jesus. And when I did, I was like, just take this pain away from me. And it's funny, because he didn't take the pain away from me, but he said, like what I felt, these words. I don't hear anything. I just kind of feel words. They come into my mind. He said, you know what? A quadriplegic is never getting up from this position, but you are. So he's like, suck it up, basically. And it did. It helped me. I just, I was like, the pain just went away. I just felt like, all right. And it reminded me of this movie, Evan Almighty. Has anybody seen that movie, Evan Almighty? So in it, Morgan Freeman's God, and he says to one of the Evan's wife, he says an interesting thing. He said, when you pray to God for courage, does he give you courage, or does he put you in a position to be courageous? So that came back to me with that, is like, he didn't take pain away from me, but he kind of slapped me on the back of the head and said, look, you got it good, man. You're going to be all right. So just suck it up and get over it. And I, that kind of got me through the rest of the time there. And I was feeling pretty good until the day before I'm supposed to leave. I have arrhythmia, and I didn't even feel it, but they said, you're not going to be able to go home. You're going to have to stay one more night. So I was like, oh man, I really want to get home and stuff, but I didn't get all upset. I just was like, okay, there's got to be a reason for this. So that next night, I'm going to be discharged in the morning. I wake up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm blind. I can't see. And I felt all around because I thought maybe I'm having a stroke or something. I could feel everything. I like talked out loud and everything, but I just could not see. And so I buzzed the nurse, and I'm like, and it's funny because this nurse, Christ Hospital has great nurses. And this nurse was the worst of them. And not to say that she was bad, she was just very procedural and just like all the other ones were like very caring, very sociable and stuff. And just FYI, and my wife can tell you this too. I don't know what it is about Christ Hospital, but all their nurses are so attractive. The female and the male. They kept coming in, and Chris was even like, the guys would come in, and she's like, what is up with this? This is like a model search or something? But anyway, that's a side note. But so this same nurse that I had that was not very nice, she comes in, and then she was probably the best. Like, she was sitting there calming me down, telling me everything's going to be okay as they're doing the check for they called a code for the stroke. And I didn't have a stroke. What it turns out to be, they think is it was the pain medicine, because I'm not good with pain medicine. And as soon as I quit the pain medicine, my eyes started getting better. But for about 3 or 4 hours, I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I go through all this, get right to the end, and then I can't, and I'm going to be blind and I can't see anymore. So, but again, it was amazingly pretty calm, other than the fact that I was like, what's happening? But then again, God he puts this nurse that I thought was going to be the worst one, and then actually turns out to be the best nurse I ever had, because she just would not leave, and she would just stay there and just spoke like, encouragement. And I was like, this is, God's doing all this. And so I got out finally, and I got back, and I started telling my staff about all this stuff that had happened to me. And I think this is what God wants us to do. He wants us to tell people about what he's doing in their life. Because even if you can't witness to people and like preach like Paul or Pastor Mike, and you can tell your story, and you can let people know that God is there. And sometimes you don't know he's there until you look back. So that whole thing that our church does about like, where did you see God this week? Sometimes we're thinking about it as we're doing it, and I'm like, oh, there he was, and I didn't see it at the time. But looking back at it, I can see that. And I just want people to realize that it happens, and think about the cross too. I mean, like, he could have stopped that, and Jesus asked him to do it a different way, and he's like, no, this is the way it's got to be. But trust me, it's gonna work out for the best. And I've done that. And I'm not good at anything, but I do now, like after that, for sure, I'm trusting in him, because even if it doesn't look like it's going to happen at that time, I know that I have faith that a week from now, 2 weeks from now, I can look back and see where he was at all the time. And then I just take comfort in that. So that's all I have for you guys today. A short one, sorry, but I got to get to No. But I appreciate talking to the CTK, and you all have an awesome day. Thanks.